So the title of my talk is letting go and directing. So letting go, that's a word I've heard a lot of, often emphasized in meditation circles, Dharma circles, spiritual communities. And it can be contrasted with its opposite, control. And th there can be kind of a view, an underlying view that letting go, that's inherently better. And while controlling things is somewhat lesser or unspiritual. And I really actually would prefer the word directing rather than controlling. So I'm going to ch change that and start using the word directing in this talk. By that, I mean there are times in life when we really need to take the reins and we have to direct what's happening as best we can under the conditions we find ourselves in. And there are other times when we need to loosen our grip and just to let things unfold as they are. Now, we could consider reflective meditation more of a practice of letting go. Oh, that's it's not that simple. But because even in the basic instructions you'll find posted on our websites, there's room for both allowing things to go on and directing them. So we're encouraged, to let our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and attention move around, move freely, and go wherever it's naturally drawn. And even if it doesn't resemble conventional ideas of meditation. Um, and sometimes what we find is that what needs to be known doesn't appear in meditation in a calm or orderly way, more in this way of kind of letting things roam around on their own. And one of our instructions say, no need to settle on a perch. At least the instructions, turns out that we have a little different instructions on different websites, but the instruction on Pine Street's website says, no need to settle on a perch when something else is calling for your attention. So rather than forcing the mind into the stillness, we suggest allowing ourselves to listen inwardly and let experience reveal itself. And yet, there is another side to the practice, right there in the basic instructions. At times, you may want to ground your attention, especially if things become chaotic or overwhelming. You need not stay long, though sometimes you will settle for a while. This too is important. This instruction, that is, because there are moments when allowing everything to move freely is not a very caring response. Sometimes we need to direct attention intentionally in order to take better care of ourselves. Over time, meditation may help us to become more attuned to this delicate discernment, when to let things be and when to intervene, when to soften our grip and when to guide more deliberately. And of course, this is not fixed, and there is no formula for it because conditions change, situations change, we change. What is wise one moment may not be wise in the next. Now, so we're practicing this within meditation and this kind of discernment within meditation. But I think that outside in our lives, it becomes more complicated. And I came up with this topic for the Dharma talk because this recently has become very personal for me. My wife, my dear love, is living with mild dementia. She treasures her independence, and gradually, unevenly, some of that independence is slipping away. I find myself needing to take charge more often and in more areas of life. But the question is, when do I need to take control? Of what do I need to take control? When do I need to hold the reins? And this discernment is really difficult because her capacities fluctuate. Maybe all of our capacities fluctuate, but dementia, that is one of its hallmarks. Because one moment something it's easy for her, it's just like it used to be, and another moment the very same thing is confusing or even possibly impossible. And of course, everything in between. And I never know which moment am I stepping into. So some situations are clear. When I smell something burning on the stove, I need to jump up, take the pot off the burner. Um, a professional I once consulted with suggested that I remove all the knobs from the stove so she could never accidentally leave a burner on. But the truth of what's going on is that the vast majority of the time she cooks perfectly well. And by the way, I really enjoy her cooking and the food that comes from that. So it feels too soon to take the knobs off the stove. But will there be a moment when it really is the right time? How will I know? This is the kind of uncertainty I live with. But what really actually surprises me that along with the sorrow and loss and uncertainty, there's something unexpectedly sweet between us. Sometimes we even laugh together about the confusion. Sometimes I let go of how I think should things should go or happen, and life between us unfolds in ways I never could have planned, and yet somehow it's better than anything I could have imagined or directed. Of course, this kind of uncertainty is not unique to dementia. Many of us live with, or maybe should I say, all of us live with changing conditions without that don't provide clear instructions, whatever, aging, illness, relationships, parenting, work. They ask us over and over again to figure out, to discern when we need to direct and when we just need to release, let things be. And so there's the question. Again, how to know when to step in and direct, how to know when it's time to let go and allow life to unfold. Of course, meditation does not give us all these answers, but hopefully it allows us to stay close to that question without hardening around it in one camp or the other. Because I don't think wisdom's found in choosing once and for all between directing and letting go. Of course not. But maybe wisdom lies more in learning to move between them with care, with humility. It takes a lot of humility. And perhaps most importantly, responsiveness to the moment we're actually in, the conditions we actually find ourselves in. So I'm just going to leave you. Maybe I don't need to say this explicitly because the Dharma talk directs it, but what in your life asks you to discern between guiding and letting go? Excuse me, guiding and allowing or letting go. Um, and where are you asked to take the reins more firmly? And what in your life, where in your life now might you be invited to soften your grip and trust the unfolding mystery just a little more? So, on that note, we'll get to meditate and see when it's perhaps we need to take the reins or we choose to take the reins and when we just let things go as they go and see what happens there. So, as always,